Greetings, greetings, greetings. You are now tuned into the vault. Trust Christian own nothing, control everything. Just want to thank you for tuning in live or listening to replay. Always appreciate all of our live listeners and all of our listeners that go back and listen to the podcast, to the YouTube episodes after they've been recorded. Everybody that comments in the chat. This is Tuesday, July 30th, 2019. It is 8 o'clock, and just want to thank you for tuning in live or listening to replay of the Vault. This is episode 145, Incorporated versus Corporate, Corporations versus LLC versus S-Corp versus Trust. So we're going to do our best to be very thorough in this episode. Do our best to be, just talk about the topics the way that they need to be. Definitely wanted to talk about this because this was something that we sat inside of an educational environment this past weekend and really saw that legal advice is being given out by the wrong people. And so we want to address the issue of these entities and say, hey, these are the things that you have to know to ask the lawyer, so or the accountant. So we want to go ahead and address those things as well. We're going to go ahead and address the news, some of the news that have been out. Wealth tax and the wealthy. Alrighty. 280 million Ethereum real estate bonds seek to recapture the promise of the ICO. So you all can look into Ethereum getting 280 million in real estate bonds that are looking to be recaptured and promised in their ICO, which is their initial coin offering. Definitely something worth looking into. Here we got another good story of still someone's estate that we've been talking about for months and months, which is since the beginning of the case in November. Aretha Franklin's sons, who are conflicted over who's in control of her estate. The estate has recently been up for a handwritten will that was left, and they are going over this will right now as we speak, and they're going through probate with that situation. So when you have a will, it goes through probate, which is beneficial for her. Now the estate's not going to get ripped apart in intestate, which is really good. Fitbits to Roku's, hedge funds mine data for consumer habits. So definitely something that came across our table, which once again is talking about the Fitbits, the watch that people wear, to Roku's, and hedge funds are actually data mining, purchasing that information to sell to companies. So we'll definitely encourage you all to look into that. They say old rules of building wealth are obsolete in the news. What are some of the old rules? Let's see what some of the old rules are. Millennials, they say, are missing wealth. Is that true? The millennial category has grown. Millennials don't need to be guilted into a way of thinking that doesn't suit them. They need to be told it's okay if they want to focus on short-term goals. These are data mines coming from some of the bigger institutions. Bigger institutions are going to be XY Planning Network, companies that are based in New Orleans called Deliberate Finances. These are companies that they say are growing, companies that millennials are contacting for this type of content. Companies that are founded, 34-year-old founder of a New York-based company called Bonafide Wealth. These are companies that are dealing with wealth and finance for younger people. So, just going over the news. Here we go. This is one part they have in the article as well. Apps that gamify savings can make finding spare cash flow a little less daunting. So, they think that savings might be daunting for part of the population. They have an app called Tip Yourself. You all can look into that app. So we definitely wanted to report that there are articles out there that are talking about younger people investing, not wanting 30-year mortgages, want to take shorter term mortgages, things of that nature. We got quite a few articles that we've seen throughout the week, but you all can check those articles out that we've already discussed. Just Google those things. we're gonna definitely go ahead and hop into our episode. We got our trading partner here, Cornell. We definitely wanted to do an episode with him again because Cornell, he actually has some time in August to do a trading webinar, which is so interesting. And it's actually this weekend. So Cornell has a demand on both sides, public and private side, and for that reason, what he finally is able to do was considered a public webinar. He does that, but it's really private because you have to, literally contact him. It's not advertised to the world. It's just, to through our network here on the Vault, and then as well, to his private network that what they do. So, Cornell, are you there with us? Uh oh. Uh oh. Cornell. Anyways, I know Cornell's on the line with us. I know you there. You muted out, sir. Alrighty, so uh, when you come back in, we don't hear you, man. If you're there, you're not muted or unmuted. So uh, yeah, everyone, we just want to thank you for tuning in live or listening to replay. Like I said, we definitely wanted to have Cornell on the episode, really because it really gives the episode what it needs to be as far as he knows about franchises and corporations, and that's something that we're going to talk about today. So everybody can just be tuned in
All right.
live. You there?
Yeah, man.
Alrighty. So, you want to talk about the webinar briefly, or are you good to go? Let's hear about this webinar you got on the 4th. And Christian at Trust Christian, you all can contact me and then we'll shoot you over the details for the webinar. Cornell, what is this webinar about when it comes to trading?
Learning what you don't get taught in the private sector. The true meaning of what's going on when you watch TV, the news, the stuff that I don't watch, and how, like I said, being to play with your emotions and then manipulate the market every day. So basically, I'm gonna show you how to look and see what's going on months ahead of time.
Okay. So you're going to show people ahead of time. Okay. And so, is that it?
It's pretty much it's no upsell, straight clear to the point. You already know how I do, but even for a beginner, I'm gonna tell you what to go look at, and it's basic as you following your rules and studying the information. If you don't study, you're not gonna get it.
So it's a
But
studying thing.
it's a studying thing, and the information being shared and not online, so it's something worth you taking the time because it's 300, but you spend 300 on nonsense anyway. Hopefully, everybody probably got some bad habit, purses, whatever that you waste money on. So it's really about you really trying to make. People say they want to make a change for their family, but do you really want to make a change for your family? And this is one of them type skills. Like it's not no play type skill.
Interesting that you said it's no play type skill. I think that's very true. So, okay. Well, we got you here now. We gonna go into this episode of 145, Incorporated versus Corporation versus LLC versus S-Corp versus Trust. So, it's a lengthy title, but let's start out with the incorporation. See, a lot of people ask what's the difference between an incorporation and a corporation, but really they're the same thing. Am I right or wrong, Cornell?
You right?
All right. They just one has the full name of Inc. and the other one has the other title of corporation. It's sort of like having LLC or writing the word actually out called LLC. So incorporating and corporation is the same thing, everybody, ladies and gentlemen. It's always like a big mystical thing of what's the difference. It's like Well, you don't have to always write LLC. You can write limited liability company. It's just a shorter way of writing it, and it's just easier to put on the paper. No one wants to write all the way out limited liability company, so they put LLC. Well, incorporated, you can write it a few ways: Inc. or corporation, but they still have corporate bylaws, and it's still a company. So a lot of people don't know why is that put there. Companies have different reasons for why they put it there, but nevertheless, it still means the same thing. It's an incorporated entity. A corporation is incorporated. That's why it's a corporation. If it's not incorporated, then it's unincorporated. But it's incorporated. That's why it's called a corporation. So, once again, the reason why we did this episode, we sat in a classroom even this weekend with, sometimes, you know, we see people on both sides of the table that try to speak out of line. And so having Cornell here, he can speak to just saying, hey, where I've had to check people, in their professions and say, hey, look, you gave out some almost illegitimate advice. Would you agree?
Oh, you talking to me? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just one of those things that when people see, okay, in business now we have people that are going to tell us things that they or tell other people things that they may not be 100% accurate on. We have to definitely be able to say, I know that it can be done, and I'm going to explain it to you in a way in which you know that it can be done. It's just they may not have done it before. So, at the end of the day, when it comes to incorporation of corporation, the reason why we did this whole episode, even S-Corp, all this stuff, is because there's entities. Now, if these are called legal entities, that means you should be getting legal advice. Your accountant is not legal advice. Your accountant is your accountant. So, when we talk about accounts, they deal with tax planning and estate, deal with tax preparation and bookkeeping. That falls under that subset. But when we talk about legal entity, that means we have to go to the lawyer to a degree, because they're the ones that's going to be creating the corporate bylaws, the operating agreement for the LLC, the agreement for the S-Corp, the trust contract, whether that's the indenture for the trust. That's the people that are going to be drafting it traditionally on the public side, correct? The lawyer. So when you all are sitting there in front of the lawyer and say, hey, what entity should I go with? Well, all the entities have a different purpose. So incorporation and corporation, that's the same entity. It's a corporation. People are issuing shares from that. People are taking things, initial public offering. People are looking to acquire large sums of debt and in corporations. Then you have LLCs, limited liabilities. Now, this is corporation. Now, this is where you traditionally get people that want to go into what will be considered like a LLP, LLC. What else do they call them, Cornell? LPs. LPs is limited partnership. This is where you get LLPs, limited liability
Yeah.
partnerships. This is where you get series LLCs. You get the whole legislative tool bag, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, these are public entities, LLCs and corporations. They're public entities. You go down to the Secretary of State and file for one of these entities. So these are incorporated entities. LLC still incorporated. It's public. So just want to note that these things are public as it stands right now. And the LLC, it gives limited liability for partnerships. And sometimes, a lot of people are walking into these things now where they're walking into the LLCs and saying, hey, you know, we're the sole member LLC. Well, once again, if you're the sole member, remember, we were even sitting in a room this weekend where there were people that were at least knowledgeable to say there's member managed and then manager managed LLCs. Why? And that dictates who's receiving the profits. In those type of situations, you got then someone actually said you could run out of a sole proprietorship. Cornell, last time I checked, a sole proprietorship deals with the social security number, correct?
Yeah, from my
So,
understanding.
so how is it that that's considered to be a business entity? And understand like where it could be in a grand scheme of things because it's a social security number, but at the end of the day, that right there is still one of the lowest positions to possibly be in when it comes to trying to do business. And ladies and gentlemen, what do you guys think big businesses are operating in certain structures for? They're operating them for tax breaks. So when you look at these companies, why is it that Zuckerberg doesn't take a salary? Why doesn't Bill Gates take a salary? It's because they understand it. They don't need to take a salary. Let the company provide fringe benefits. The IRS gives a book on fringe benefits called Publication 15B. And if you're an employee of the company or an executive, you can see the packages they have available. You all can go see that information for these entities. It says the employer's identification. What is it? Employer identification, employee benefits handbook, or something like that, on publication 15B. You all can go Google that and see how that works inside of all these entities: a LLC, a S corp, a C corp, an incorporation, a corporation. You can see that, and you all can be better prepared to talk to what you would call the lawyer when you say, okay, I need you to draw the corporate bylaws with this, or the corporate bylaws for the LLC, I mean the operating agreement for the LLC, and things of that nature. So anything you want to add, Cornell, on the LLC or incorporation? Do you favor those entities? What's your thoughts on those?
We pretty much covered that.
Okay. Uh, so the S corp. Now we get a lot of people that say that their accountant told them to go into S corp because they're gonna avoid double taxation. Is that true, Cornell?
I'm pretty sure some attorneys have said that.
Right. Some attorneys have said this. So at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, why would you have an entity and have it pass through to your social security number, even if it wasn't being double taxed? Why isn't it filing the proper tax form of an 1120S? Or why is it that people are still filing 1040s? These are questions that you ask when you're doing business. These are questions that we ask if we're looking at the business. If you say, hey, we need you to buy into our company, we're seeing how you getting paid. How are you getting paid? You're getting paid directly from an S corp. Getting murdered in taxes because it's going to the social, which is the highest way for business to be done. So a lot of people say that that's some type of protection, but really a lot of times, I'm gonna tell you, ladies and gentlemen, how we've seen it structured, especially talking to people in the public about it. People literally have a LLC and it's filed as an S corp, and it's interesting to see. It's just something we see a lot of accountants tell their constituents or to their clients to actually do. This is something we hear. Have you heard that, Cornell?
What is that?
No, don't you hear accountants even say that?
Yeah.
And think about it, the accountants are the ones usually filing the taxes. That's just to be honest with you. Also, the accountant usually filing the taxes.
They're the
Then
ones filing
they're
the
the ones
taxes. Yeah.
that they're in your ear as an entrepreneur saying, hey, you should file this form and you should file that form. Well, hold on. Why are we going that route? What is this entity classified as? And that's something that we want to talk about, which is these corporations. We encourage you all to go to um, the IRS website and go to business structures. And then we get to the big boy, the trust. Now there's public and private. You all know that listening to the vault. There's public and there's private trust. Clear distinction is one's with government legislation and one's without it. And so you have to have a private family or a private education to actually obtain how to do the private one, because that's why it's called private. Is without the gov. So it's a private contract, and no state's going to impair the obligation of any quote unquote person or your ability to contract. No one's going to impair that obligation for you to have a contract in place with yourself, with your family, with a friend, with a stranger. You know, they do have government contracts, and those are called public contracts. It's not a private contract. It's called public for a reason. And so, we get into the trust, and you still see very limited information on it. You guys can look in a Black's Law Dictionary. It says that a trust is a secret, so you can't be wondering why or be upset why you don't know about trust and things of that nature, why it's not in the public, but you hear about trust fund babies, people carrying wealth from one generation to the next, is because of that reason alone. It's a secret. And so now you see where secret societies come in. You see where private communities come in play. People that are not quote unquote on the grid, or you don't stand next to their family last name. And so we definitely appreciate you all for tuning in live. Listen, replay. I see some questions. I'm gonna roll through real quick, see if I got any comments on here, because I see some people making some comments. Appreciate you all for tuning in live. Someone's asking for a link for the getting ready to talk trustee training. We'll see you, Evelyn. Uh, Hello, greetings. Have you heard of a nonprofit organization, Soul Corp? Those are interesting entities. I think where you can always find those things are on the IRS website. You all can see what's there, what's available. Of course, when people say a sole corp, once again, it's a corporation. You didn't even see us bring into this thing, sole corp. That's why when we get on people that have the S corps, oh, you have the S corp, it's a pass through. Why? Because it's almost considered like a sole corp. It's going directly to the entity to who? Who's the money getting to in the sole corp? I mean, in the S corp, Cornell. Who's the money given to in the S corp? It ain't the S corp. That's considered the pass through, right?
Yeah,
All right.
that's
So
fast too.
who's the money going to? Numero uno, you. Soul Corp. Okay, so that's not a beneficial position to be in. Interest rates interest rates are looked at on our side as an oxymoron because when you're dealing with paper, you know, paper's depreciating as it stands. So when you're paying interest back, higher interest rates just mean you're paying back money with cheaper money. Christian, is there any reading material that Cornell recommend we obtain? Is there any reading material right now you recommend other than contacting you to get on the webinar?
Now, I said it'd be best for you to get on the webinar because we go from beginning to the end on exactly what to do.
Okay. No, Cornell. As far as the webinar,
After you,
somebody said, what, okay, we just started LLC. When we go private, could we place the business within a trust? I mean, a trust can own property, so that's something that you would know when you go private, and that's something that you learn when you go private. That's why it's gonna be private when you do it and when you know it. Uh, there was a question, Cornell, about the trading webinar. Um,
what was it? Somebody was calling me in the middle of the talk.
oh, You said, will this be a 1 or 2 day webinar? And when does the next trustee training start? The next trustee training starts August 4th, which is this Sunday. So we have trustees already enrolled, and trustee training enrollment ends on the 4th here. So it's imperative that you enroll before the class starts. Uh, we're moving through 12-week course. Classes are, available for you. We're not going to go into too many details, but you all can inquire privately, and that's Christian at Trust Christian. And even for the webinar with Cornell, just inquire, just send it over specifically. We'll send you back a specific reply to what you're asking. But like we said, Cornell's definitely doing a webinar this weekend. It was a pop up for him. Uh, this is Cornell doing this just briefly again from out of nowhere. you know, the demand is high, so just getting back at it. A lot of people have a demand for the services of just knowing how to trade. There's definitely no book. It's just enrollment and people being in that class with him. I think that's always a great start. Like Cornell says, a lot of people get inside of a private situation and they don't even know how to make money privately now, and that's the biggest issue that you're gonna run into is how do you do that? And the way that you do that is by understanding that you have to be a capital fundraiser. So at that point, putting yourself in a driver's seat, putting yourself in a disciplined position, putting yourself in a disciplined investor position, puts you in a very quality position to be in. Cornell even talks about it that trading makes you have better quality decision making skills as a business owner or a business entrepreneur. Actually, I want you to talk about that, Cornell. Is when you did the franchise, one of the first businesses that you went into. What would you say that entity was, and how would you comment on that entity as far as the benefits of income versus liability and tax ratio? What would you say about that?
The public answer you're gonna get is LLCs, S Corp, and C Corp go by, which they do, go by how much money you make. So most of y'all gonna start out in an LLC. Once you get to a certain amount, now like you said, you got to make a decision on that S Corp or that C Corp position, and it mainly go over in steps. But once you start getting some money, they'll tell you, hey, they might try to sell you on a public trust or some sort Experience real far. But you're learning that, like I said, through that trust, you protecting not only your assets, but you pretty much protecting your family lives. Plus, you're not wasting money. From that structure, because guess what? You can do charitable stuff out of that structure. So most people that's in those successful spots, the reasons you see that they do so much, because one way or the other they're gonna have to get rid of it, but they rather give it away, set up the proper way, get credit for it, and make money off donating money. That's what you learn in a private structure. When you see them doing all these things, you know how it is. How they make money? By donating money.
Right.
It gets to that point. And that's the steps you want to be going through with the business. But having your hand on this type of information, see, now you ain't even got to go through those steps. You can go ahead and get set up the proper way from the beginning.
Listen to this one. I said to a trustee, I said, look, you went to 4 years of college. We went to a 2 day real estate course and literally know how to make hundreds of millions of dollars off a 2 day real estate course from private mentors that have made millions of dollars in the private real estate sector and are doing very successful and living in an 18,000 square foot house and saying, look, oh yeah, we want to go bigger. It's like, wow, that's that 18. I thought that was a good jump. And then you hear, them still pushing the needle, still looking at properties every week still. You know, when you see that you can learn more in 2 days, probably less than 40 hours in 2 days, because it's 24 hours, and less than 40 hours of contact, being able to learn literally how to turn, really no money into, to hundreds of millions of dollars. That's a big deal. And the trustee realized that, like, wow, that's true. And I said, that's called investing in your private education. No one gonna give you that for free. No one's gonna give you that for free. You gotta invest in your private education. What's that? That's Cornell's trading course. That's private trustee training. That's courses that we talked about that we go through as trustees to keep developing our what is that, knowledge base. That's something I really wanted to do an episode about, which was research and development. But it's just so vital for so many people to know that you got to put the study time in, like Cornell said. It's the research and development,
But
really.
right, that study time, man, you have to invest in yourself. So in these private sectors, guess what? Nobody's sitting there worrying about the money. They gonna pay the money. They gonna work as a team and get some money. So one thing about learning this information, it's gonna put you in a better position all the way around, even trying to do business. Because sometimes, guess what? You might have that information that people that's been operating with millions don't even have. Guess why you got it? I paid the money for Trustee Training. I can hold a conversation when I'm in these rooms. Now, the people you was in there trying to get some business from probably just gonna go and give you their number anyway. Because guess what? You just brought something to the table. That didn't involve nothing but, guess what? You invested in yourself and going to get the education. It's the same way with trade. Once I show you this, I promise you can step in a room with people that have been trained for a long time and they're going to hold a conversation with you. And that's the type of stuff we get in the environment. So guess what? We educate ourselves. So guess what? I can go to the real estate course to the multi-millionaires. Y'all think about how many conferences and stuff y'all go to. Y'all never really get to really directly talk to the people on that stage. Might take a picture with them, but in the private world, guess what? People do with smaller groups. They more hands-on. The ones that's really doing it for real, they more hands-on. Guess what? It wasn't a free class. We paid $2,000. But guess what? I've been to a lot of real estate webinars. It wasn't no upsell the same way I teach. You got a real guy. This guy was a police officer going to work every day, multi-millionaire. How big a house, Christian?
It's 18,000 square feet. One of them's 18,000.
18,000 square feet.
Yeah.
It ain't about status, it's about investing in yourself. His house bigger than some athletes and celebrities y'all looking up to. He's a regular guy. Took the time, invested in himself, went out, made something happen. Because guess what? He went out, like Chris said, and pretty much he summed it up in 2 days.
In two
No
days.
excuses for nobody. No excuses for nobody. Bad credit, no problem. Knowledge, no problem.
You know what I
No
think it is?
money, with money, no problem.
I'm gonna tell you what it is, Cornell. It's a lot of intellectual idiots, man. And it's so many people, they overthink the process. Even when I think about the trading so much, I'm like,
Yeah,
why do so many people
I say that all
overcomplicate
the
it?
time.
And I know you say that all the time. And that's what it is. People overcomplicate the simplest way to make the capital in the world right now. The trading, he said, look at four things. People still got 20 damn things on their screen. It's like, I understand you came from that, but sometimes when you get certain pieces of knowledge, you got to wipe out everything you learned previous to that. Why? Because it was stupid. It was a waste of your time. When you learn the real actual application style information, you have to use it and then implement it. And once you implement it, you get the results. This is the way it works. It's a system. We talk about a system, but how many people live a system? You're going to live the public school system or you're going to live the private school system. When we talk about the private school system, we're talking about the private knowledge of knowing how to trade, where somebody literally sitting in front of you making $25 million bonus, $60 million bonus, $100 million bonus, and they telling you they only doing clicks on the mouse less than 100 times a year. It's 365 days a year. They ain't even clicking on the mouse to do a trade less than 100 times a year. I mean, more than 100 times a year. And it's just like, okay, well, we see the information and then we see results. And it's just interesting, man. That's the one thing I can say is it's really interesting to see, people take some of the most complicated, the simplest things and complicate them. And I understand people have been given a lot of stupid information in their life, but when you come towards certain things, even towards
And that's
trust,
why,
go ahead.
and you just like me, right? When you teach trustee training, we take it, we dumbing it down. People want things dumbed down. You know how many so-called advanced traders and the ones that go read all the books and take in all the knowledge still have issues? Because, like you said, people have a system in play. One thing about people, when you got a mindset where you ain't got patience or structure, you struggle. And you want to know why you struggle on your finances? Because you cannot get your mindset to change, like you said, because you so used to doing something. So you think you're doing it right. But are you one of them people that's willing to take instruction, follow the instruction, and complete the task? That's what I get with my training class. That's what I got from the real estate class I just went to. That's what I get from Trustee Training. Follow instructions.
Right, follow instructions, and that's the interesting part as well. How many people are following instructions from a mentor? We always go back to this mentor situation, but then are you following the instructions of the mentor? And the instructions are quite clear most of the time. And if you're not going to take the mentor's instructions, just know that you're deviating from the path of mentorship. Because mentorship means a strict discipline of exactly what the mentor said, correct?
Correct.
So that's why we love interest. Everything else is incorporated, public, corporation, LLC, S-Corp. We see those things, all those things under it, after it, subsect, and public, and We just wanted to talk about it. And when we talk about legal advice, we always talk to you all about that. Like people say, oh, you give legal advice, you give legal advice. Well, who you getting legal advice from, the lawyer or the accountant? We can see if you go to the lawyer, but we sat in front of the lawyer. Lawyers say clients will come to the lawyers and say they don't want to divest themselves of the assets. So why would they put you in an irrevocable situation when you don't want to divest yourself of the assets? So they put you in a revocable living trust. That's what they do, right?
And that's from your own attorney, right? That's information from a attorney.
Right. From your attorney. Quoted that one. That I heard that come on straight out of his mouth. My clients don't want to
And think
divest
about it.
themselves of their assets.
Cornell pretty much telling you what you're gonna go over on a weekend gonna change your life. It ain't too many that's trained on saying, "Oh, I got it. 2 days. I'm gonna teach this. Charge a lot of money because a lot of them don't know what I know. They quick traders, I call them, in and out. Started to work for a minute. They make some money. They lose some money. But they're not talking about them L's that they take. That's when I say I get the calls from the advanced traders or the people that thought they had something figured out, and the ones that actually listen and follow the instructions. Guess what? You go from being 65 to 70% to 90, 95%. That's how trading is. That's how the trust information is. That's how that real estate course was. It was straight to the point. Man walked in there where he said, Chris, boom, this all y'all need. Y'all can complicate it if you want to. Yeah, all right. Multi-millionaire standing in front of you. Ordinary dude. Tell you that. Are you going to follow the instructions? Or you think you want to know a little bit about real estate because you don't want to rob a Kiyosaki class, you don't want to hit to this dude, or that's why people don't have the right mindset. That's why you can't make money, because you don't think that you already know it. Instead of respecting the fact, like, yo, hold on, you telling me this is what Cornell pick up from people like this. Christian probably do the same thing. You telling me you working a 9 to 5, start buying these houses, you own houses in your early 20s, you're a multi-millionaire, and you put your whole team in front of me and give me access, I'm not going to follow the instructions. What we finna do, Christian? We finna follow the instructions on the real estate. We already following the instructions.
Yeah, we're following instructions heavy. Like, and I'm telling you, I'm in sixth gear right now, man. I just want to put it out there to the universe and to all the audience. We're in sixth gear right now. That's why Cornell's doing this webinar this weekend. That's why Trustee Training starting this weekend. We
And
already
think about
have.
another thing we talk about. You got to invest in yourself. It was a $2,000 class. We did it without hesitation.
Yeah, we did it without hesitation. I don't know, man. I think it's hard to be like not convinced when somebody it really shows like, okay, well, I have this, so you don't really need to believe me or not. Here's the assets to show that. And then once again, the when they really presented their team, they even show more value. Like, hey, I'm not just gonna stand in front of you and tell how great my life is. How I own over 100 properties. I'm gonna put my team in front of you all, and you can talk to them and see how I started out from working a 9 to 5 job as a cop, investing. He even had his insurance guy go up there and say he was only putting less than $100 or less than $200 away in insurance every month. And that's something that we could easily get into that conversation here on the vault, is that insurance conversation. Once again, putting the insurance on the key players of the company, having that as an asset for the company. We could have that deeper conversation, but that conversation definitely was being had in that room. Was having a key man, having some type of key player insurance, or what they were talking about cross purchase agreements, which was really good inside of the room. So it was really awesome to hear that from their insurance guy. And these are people that are saying, hey, if you're in real estate, you can have these, and these are things that you can have part of the company. And they were still talking about it on the public side with LLCs, S-Corp, C-Corps, and corporations, but you still get to see that they have that individual on his team, and we got to see the entire team, which is a blessing, which was awesome. So it was really, really awesome. So I have nothing but good words for it. If anybody, we Cornell, we went to that course as a team. We had team members on our team. When you all say, you don't have a team, if you don't got a team, you got to start getting people that want to invest the $2,000 to go to the course. I mean, that man alone made what, $8,000+ off of us, and it was a blessing. We were willing to do that, easily, and that's just the minimal investment that you all can see. That's low, ladies and gentlemen. But when you're making $1 million, and you're able to walk in now private equity environments, it feels really good to know that you can sit in those environments with people that have a lot more millions, but we can invest with them and things of that nature. So it's just really good to be able to invest as a JV or GC and things of that nature. So um, GP, I should say. But yeah, Cornell, I thank you for coming in on this episode, man. Christian at trustchristian.com. You can get the details of the webinar there. We'll definitely give them out. Cornell has been, ever so faithful as one of the trustees to actually come out and talk. He's one of the cooler ones. Me and him have really good, strong, relationship with the vault, and the vault has just provided great trustee training, and we just appreciate Cornell. Really coming through and always having that trustee conversation perspective, not just about trading out the trust account, but just understanding, Cornell hit people with the dummy stick recently when he was like, well, if you open up a foreign account, that means it's foreign. And I really sat there and said, wow, most people aren't going to catch that because they're so caught up in the public. They don't think about, wow, that's really a private move, and I should get busy. Would you agree?
That's a huge private move. Yeah, you definitely see it business.
So, all right, well, we're not going to be playing around anymore. Christian at Trust Christian, contact us. We may do a pop up episode this week, but peace and blessings. Thanks for tuning in live. Cornell's doing a webinar this weekend on August the 3rd and the 4th. I believe that it is. Let's look at the date again. Yes, August 3rd and 4th, Saturday, Sunday, 6 p.m. It starts on Eastern